question of government pensions.
Right.
So basically, as most of you all know, our PMX has come out and said that he wants to abolish the pension scheme.
Correct.
While the response has been mixed, some people are saying, why abolish the scheme? Instead, why don't abolish the pension scheme for ministers? I don't see the correlation there. But what do you think what is your opinion on this?
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why did you say you don't see the correlation between like ministers' pensions?
Because it is, again, there are some politicians who are bringing up this topic, right? They are saying don't abolish the government civil servants pension, instead abolish the pensions for the ministers. How many ministers are there compared to the number of the civil servants? So I don't see the correlation, because if I subtract one person's pension, that doesn't change the total amount that the government has to pay for the coming years. And as we are approaching to become an aging nation, this number of people that the government has to pay pensions for is going to keep increasing. And to be fair to the government, what they have said is that the current pensioners will remain, but just that the buck stops
onwards, there. Correct.
And they have suggested to move it to EPF, which isn't a bad thing. So I'm saying, why talk about a non-issue and say, oh, you know what, remove the minister's pension first instead of dealing with this? That's not the answer to the solution.
Okay. I might have a different take.
Please, sir.
All right. I think both of it should happen concurrently, meaning that it's okay to shift to EPF for civil servants, like meaning that their pension scheme would now be EPF. And it's also important for ministers, politicians to get a cut, because on their pension. Why? When you say the ministers are just this many people, right? But then what we fail to see is even MPs, senators, everyone in the cabinet right now, they are all entitled to sometimes more than 2 pensions. Okay, pensions for being a minister,
yes,
and also pension for being a member of the parliament for their own consistency and things like that, right? And I did read an article recently saying that the PM has urged ministers to choose only one pension, which I think is quite fair, right? And that's my take on it. I think both of it should happen concurrently, because if we are comparing the ministers to the people, the civil servants, I think the civil servants, they put in a lot of hard work into the work that they do, but their salary is just that, right? And for you to suddenly tell them that you don't have pension is very absurd. But moving to EPF is for me, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, because even me, I don't work under the government. I'm with an NGO, and I still have my EPF going into my EPF fund every month, which is helpful for me. But after that, moving forward, after their retirement, what they should be equipped with is financial literacy, so that they don't overspend or totally utilize their EPF and they have nothing after that for their retirement. But again, my take on this is that it should happen concurrently, with the ministers also having a pension cut.
No, I agree with that. What I mean is, for me, I'm also on the same page as you. I think that if you want to cut it, you should cut it for everyone.
Yes.
But the problem is now the argument has changed. It's sort of like changing directions to say, it's become politicized. It's become, dramatized to say, okay, just the ministers and let's talk about them. But that doesn't solve the problem. It's a 30 billion hole for the government. It's crazy, and this number is going to keep growing.
Right.
It's a lot of money.
And I think one reason why this is being politicized is because in order for this to be approved on the parliament level and on the state level, it has to be tabled in the parliament and it has to be voted for. Like in Malay, they said perlu diusul dalam parlimen lah. And I think that's where people are trying to see the threshold whether or not the government is going to do it in the next parliament sitting. And if they do it, good job. If they don't, that's where the problem starts. Okay. Meaning that, they don't keep up to their word and they don't do what they say. Because if it's not tabled and voted for, they can't amend the whole, there is an acta for that and they can't amend that acta unless if it's tabled in the parliament.
So it's like what your past president YB Syed Saddiq said recently. He called the Kerajaan a Kerajaan NATO.
Right.
Yes.
No action, talk only.
Talk only.
Correct.
Yeah.